So good news indeed. Great work by the Secretary of State, Stephen Fuhr, on the Defense Investments Agency. It's an important agency for different reasons. Our goal is to recreate an industrial capacity in this country when it comes to defense. And while we will be working obviously on procurement, we want to make sure that procurement and basically contracts go to Canadian companies as much as they can. So that's what I've been focusing on. I've talked to the CEO of this new Defense Investments Agency last week, Mr. Guzman, and I've been working very closely with Stephen Fuhr on this. We've been to Sweden and Finland together, and we want to do more. So basically, when you think about our future defense industrial strategy, our goal is to buy, is to build, and to partner.
Is there a quota or a metric on the amount of Canadian?
Just give me a sec. Donc, bonne nouvelle pour la nouvelle agence d'investissement en défense. C'est une agence qui va être sous l'autorité de mon collègue, le secrétaire d'État Stephen Fuhr. Nous travaillons de près ensemble pour être capable de recréer des capacités industrielles au niveau de la défense. Notre objectif est de pouvoir créer plus d'emplois à travers nos investissements en défense au pays. Non seulement nous travaillons ensemble sur ces questions-là, j'ai eu l'occasion aussi de parler au nouveau PDG de cette nouvelle agence, M. Guzman, la semaine passée. Et Stephen Fuhr et moi, nous sommes allés en Suède et en Finlande pour travailler et attirer davantage d'investissements au Canada dans le secteur de la défense. Et ça, on l'a fait au mois d'août dernier. Donc, mon point est le suivant, c'est que alors que nous allons continuer à investir beaucoup en défense, en se rendant peu à peu à 3,5 % de notre PIB, notre objectif va être de vouloir recréer des emplois au Canada, recréer des industries et aussi notre future stratégie de la défense au niveau industriel va être basée sur 3 principes qui vont être d'acheter, de bâtir et de faire des partenariats.
Is there a quota or a metric by which Canadian investments have to be made in Canadian companies?
So, a couple of things. When we will buy, for example, there are certain things we won't be building in Canada, submarines, for example. So when we will buy, we will ask companies to be able to have Canadian content in what we buy. The best example is submarines, and that's a competition at this point between two companies, a consortium from Germany and Norway, which is called TKMS, and there's another one that is based in Korea, which is called Onwa. And our goal is to make sure that they can really work with our companies and our supply chain here in Canada. When it comes to building, the National Shipbuilding Strategy is another example.
What is the outcome, or what changes, if any, were you able to get from Tech Resources and Anglo American, given your statement the week before about your meeting last week, that you were looking for changes and that what they put on the table isn't enough? What changes have you got?
Well, this is an ongoing process, so when I'll have more to say, I'll have more to say.
What do you think? Can you say this is another government agency, another layer of bureaucracy? What do you have to say to those who say this is another government agency, another bureaucratic layer?
So, for a long, long time in Ottawa, we've been trying to procure on the defense side faster. And a lot of things we've worked on didn't work. And so that's why it's been part of our platform to be able to come up with a new solution. And it's been work that's been spearheading by the Secretary of State, Stephen Fuhr. And this new agency will be able to streamline procurement for defense. But it's more than only procurement. It's also investments also in the sector of defense. Listen, we've never invested so much in defense in decades. We now need to make sure that we create jobs out of this, and that's why we'll do that. Thank you.
The new agency? Well, we've got a lot of questions, of course. We wanted to make sure it's not another layer of bureaucracy. Right now, you know, procurement goes through PSPC, it goes through Treasury Board, it can go through multiple departments before any procurement can take place. So is this new agency going to reduce that so that it's more streamlined? Let's hope so. In terms of the agency, is it also going to be working with, you know, communities to help develop infrastructure for military procurement, like building ship building infrastructure, ship recycling infrastructure, like we're calling for in British Columbia? Are they going to be working with Indigenous communities to ensure that there's accommodation and that they're part of all the procurement and ensuring that they get it right? And supporting communities if they're going to build more bases to ensure that there's schools and hospitals and supports for those communities. Those are questions, some of the questions that we have when it comes to this new agency. But the big one is it going to be another layer of bureaucracy?
Okay. I think that's all I have, unless there's anything else you wanted to add.
Just that, you know, we want to do everything we can to ensure that military spending is spent here in Canada. One thing that we don't know, and even when we're retiring military equipment, right now I've been calling for the government to develop a national aerial firefighting force using retired military equipment, using the CH-130 Hercules, so that they can both help move people when they need to move them, when they're under threat or their lives are at risk, but also to use them for aerial firefighting as water bombers. So right now, you know, we don't know where that's at, and again, it's a quagmire, multiple departments involved, and when we retire military equipment, it should be there to serve Canadians and can still help us meet our NATO targets. So we need to do both things at once. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Laval, ça se tire dessus les Starbucks.
C'est très préoccupant pour vraiment Rhéal, mais oui.
La réforme, vous, du système de remise en liberté, avez-vous des attentes au Bloc québécois par rapport à ça, ce qui est attendu?
On doit travailler très fort là-dessus. On a fait différentes propositions déjà. Je vais continuer d'en parler avec mes collègues du Parti conservateur et du Parti libéral. D'ailleurs, présentement au comité de justice, on étudie. On est dans une étude sur la question de la détermination de la preuve. Alors, inévitablement, c'est des questions qui vont rejaillir continuellement. Et je réitère ce que j'ai dit en chambre ce matin, que j'offre toutes mes condoléances à la famille de Gaby Renault qui a été assassinée, qu'on a retrouvée là. Je trouve ça... Il n'y a pas de mots pour ça. En fait, la vraie question, comment se fait-il qu'il y a encore des gens dans notre société qui commettent des gestes aussi odieux? Et il y a quelque chose qui ne marche pas, il y a quelque chose qu'on échappe et il va falloir se pencher là-dessus sérieusement. Je pense que le fédéral va devoir collaborer avec Québec, avec les autres provinces. Ça relève de la gestion des provinces, l'administration de la justice et de ces programmes-là. Il faut faire quelque chose, on ne peut pas continuer comme ça. Merci.
With the Prime Minister, what can we expect from the Conservatives?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that Canadians have a right to know who the Prime Minister was meeting with. He's got 103 conflicts of interest that he's declared. And if he did, in fact, meet with anyone who the ethics screens have been set up for, I think Canadians have a right to be concerned and also need to understand what conversations were had. Was there anything in regards to development in Canada, investment in Canada, infrastructure in Canada? The Prime Minister needs to recuse himself of those types of conversations. He said he will. The screen's been set up by both the Clerk of the Privy Council and his Chief of Staff, and I think he needs to come clean with Canadians, and that's what the motion intends.
Is this a preview of what we can expect from the Conservatives on ethics over the next little bit?
I think the preview that you can expect from Conservatives on ethics is that we hold the government to account. It's an oversight committee. Its job is to hold the government to account and allow for transparency to happen, and we're going to do our job as an oversight committee to make sure that not just the government, but the Prime Minister is held to account on the highest standards possible. And I expect that all members of the committee will do their job in doing that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you have anything to say on that.
They are, and you know, we believe in the CRA. We believe in fairness. I'm looking forward to reading the report and seeing exactly what it entails. But I have confidence that the right decisions will be made.
Is there any, some of these charities have probably been negatively affected by this. Is there anything the government could do to make it right for them?
Well, we're going to review it, and certainly we are all about fairness. We know the charities do great work across our country, and we will kind of lean in, and I will personally lean in and make sure that things are right.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. We talk about, the city that we're dependent on oil and gas. We have a lot of employment in oil and gas. It's essential for the country, and for the last 10 years we've had a government that's actually pillaged the industry, if you will, by not allowing it to expand, not allowing it to do what it does best in order to deliver goods to the world, but also prosperity to Canadians. So, not happy about it. I hope it's the last, although we do foresee, unless things turn around here as far as the government's approach to the industry, you know, what's the next step is the question. We want to make sure that we're ahead of this, not behind it.
And what did you think of Danielle Smith's proposal yesterday?
It was interesting. You know, you think about there being no proponent at this point in time, but she has the advice of all three of the oil exporters across this country, so it's good they're on board. Getting a proponent listed is the first thing, and getting some hurdles out of the way, if you will, as far as how this happens and who the proponents there, but how you actually engage with the Indigenous organizations and get this moving along. I think it's a positive step in actually getting a roadblock out of the way so you can get past the regulatory hurdles.
What about BC in all of this? I'm sure you heard Premier Eby's
Yeah, it's
response.
interesting because I do recall before I even took this job that, you know, when you're talking about interprovincial transportation, that it is federal jurisdiction, not provincial jurisdiction. So I hope the Prime Minister lands on this one way or another about what he sees as provincial jurisdiction and what he sees as federal jurisdiction, because the way I've understood the Constitution most of my life is that this is federal jurisdiction. So I think the Prime Minister has to either land on one side of this or the other very quickly.
Which way do you think he ought to land? I mean,
Well,
you sort of lean towards it, but I'd like you to be explicit.
Sure. No, I think that this is federal jurisdiction when you're talking about interprovincial transportation. And once you get offshore, again, it's federal jurisdiction. So I think the Prime Minister has to put his position on the table very quickly here about where the federal government is on this, because, as I say, this is supposedly federally regulated. Thank you.